6 years ago, this thing wore a sticker north of 90 grand. Last week, I watched one cross an auction block for less than a used Camry, and the guy who bought it was grinning like he'd robbed the place. He hadn't. He just walked into the most expensive bargain of his life. That's the trap with these SUVs. The badge still says money. The price says clearance rack. And somewhere in between is where people get destroyed. Today, I'm counting down 7 former six-figure luxury SUVs that have collapsed under $30,000. A couple of them are the steal of the decade, and a couple will bankrupt you in a driveway. I'm going deepest on number 1 because that's the one nobody sees coming. Let's get into it. Number 7, Cadillac Escalade. Let's start with the one that actually earns a little respect. A loaded Escalade Platinum stickered right around $95,000 when it was new. Today, a clean one from the mid-2010s sits in the mid-20s, and the market treats it like a used pickup with a chandelier bolted to the roof. Here's the thing about the Escalade that people forget when they sneer at it. Underneath all that chrome and quilted leather, it's basically a GMC Yukon Denali in a tuxedo. That's a compliment. It means the 6.2-liter V8 under the hood is the same corporate small block that GM has built roughly 10 million of, and every mechanic in America can work on it with their eyes closed. Parts are everywhere. Nothing is a dealer-only mystery box. When something breaks, and on a big American SUV something always eventually breaks, you're not mortgaging the house to fix it. The depreciation on these is brutal on paper. Industry data pegs the long wheelbase ESV losing around 63% of its value over 5 years. That's a catastrophe if you bought it new. It's a gift if you're buying it used with somebody else's 60 grand already eaten. You're buying a truck that's already taken the beating. Now, it's not perfect. The magnetic ride control shocks are fantastic when they work and expensive when they don't. Budget around $400 to $600 a corner if they start leaking. The early touchscreen infotainment, the CUE system, was genuinely awful and prone to spider cracking. And it drinks premium fuel like it's got a personal vendetta against your wallet. Expect to spend real money at the pump every single week. Who should buy it? Somebody who tows, hauls a big family, and wants presents without paying a German repair bill. Who should skip it? Anybody who parks in the city or actually cares about fuel economy. But of everything on this list, the Escalade is the one that crashed in price without becoming a landmine. That's rarer than you'd think, as you're about to find out. Number 6, Audi Q7. The Q7 is where the story starts to turn dark. Loaded up in prestige trim with the supercharged V6, these things crested $75,000 to $80,000, and the hotter SQ7 sailed clean past 90. Today, a 2017 3.0T Prestige is worth around $15,000. I've seen clean ones with the full panoramic roof, third row, Bang & Olufsen package, advertised at $14,500. That's not depreciation. That's a controlled demolition. And I get why people fall for it. It's gorgeous inside. The interior aged like fine wine while the price fell off a cliff. But let me tell you what's hiding under that supercharger. I had a customer, sharp guy, did his homework, or thought he did, buy a 2017 Q7 3.0T for 14 grand. Felt like a genius. 8 months later, he's in my bay with a whining noise that sounds like a jet spooling up. The crankcase vent valve, which lives underneath the supercharger, had failed. To fix a part that costs almost nothing, you have to pull the entire supercharger off the top of the engine. That job ran him just over $2,500. And while you're in there, any honest shop is going to tell you to replace the PCV system and a couple of other gaskets because you've already paid for the labor, so tack on another few hundred. That's the Q7's whole personality. The 3.0-liter supercharged V6 is notorious for oil leaks from the upper timing covers. The gasket material hardens, gets brittle, and starts weeping oil right where it's most expensive to reach. RepairPal gives the Q7 a middling reliability score and flags it for frequent, pricey shop visits. Car Edge data has it shedding around 59% of its value in 5 years, worse than the segment. If you're going to buy one anyway, here's your checklist. First, cold start it and listen for that supercharger whine If it's there, walk away or negotiate hard. Second, get it on a lift and look at the front timing cover area for oil residue. A little seep is common, a soaked mess is a 5-figure warning. Third, scan for stored codes on the knock sensors, a known failure point that'll run you about $500 to fix. Buy the Q7 with your eyes open, or it'll teach you a lesson you can't afford. Number 5, Mercedes-Benz GLS550. Now we're getting into genuinely dangerous territory. A GLS550 with the twin-turbo V8 stickered right around $90,000 loaded. A 2017 today is worth about $21,000 to $23,000. On the surface, that's the deal of a lifetime. A 3-row German land yacht that seats 7, tows 7,000 pounds, and rides on air suspension for the price of a base Corolla. Here's the part the listing won't tell you. Repair Pal rates the GL550, the predecessor and mechanical twin of the GLS, dead last in its class. Not near the bottom, last. 19th out of 19 luxury full-size SUVs with a 1 out of 5 reliability score and a 23% chance that any given repair is a major one. Let me translate major repair into Mercedes money. That air suspension that makes the ride so magical. When an air strut fails, and on a 10-year-old Benz, it's a matter of when. You're looking at well over $1,000 per corner, and they don't fail politely one at a time. The compressor that feeds the whole system is another expensive point of failure. The twin-turbo V8 has a documented habit of oil seepage from the back of the cylinder heads, which is a nightmare to access. And the electronics. The gremlins in these things are legendary. Random warning lights, modules that talk to each other and then suddenly stop. I had a guy roll in absolutely thrilled with his $20,000 GLS. 3 months later, his repair total had passed $6,000 and the air suspension was still sagging on one corner. He sold it at a loss and bought a Highlander. His words, "I paid Toyota money to learn a Mercedes lesson. If you must, buy one with complete dealer service records and a pre-purchase inspection from an independent Mercedes specialist, not the corner shop, a specialist. Sit on the air suspension overnight and check in the morning if a corner has dropped. And keep $6,000 in the bank that you pretend doesn't exist. Because this SUV isn't cheap, it's just cheap to buy. There's a difference, and the next one proves it in an even flashier way." Number 4, Maserati Levante. This is the one that makes people gasp. A Levante S with the Ferrari-built twin-turbo V6 stickered in the 80s, and the GTS with the V8 pushed past $100,000. Today, the average used Levante trades around $38,000, and I regularly see higher mileage, early examples advertised in the high 20s. A Maserati, for less than a new Honda Accord. And I'll be honest with you, they're intoxicating. The engine has genuine Ferrari DNA. It sounds like an opera when you open it up. The interior is dripping with Italian leather. Walking up to one in a parking lot, you feel like somebody. That feeling is exactly the trap. The Levante is the purest example on this list of what I call badge-driven collapse. The car didn't get worse, the market just refused to keep paying luxury prices for a used Maserati. And the reason resale evaporates is the running cost. This is a low-volume Italian exotic wearing an SUV body. Parts don't sit on shelves at your local dealer. They get ordered, they get expensive, and they take time. Independent shops that will even touch one are rare. An oil change costs multiples of what a normal SUV costs. Brakes, tires, and a service interval that involves the word Maserati all bleed money. Here's my rule on the Levante. It is a second car for someone who already owns a reliable one, has real money set aside for maintenance, and buys it with a bulletproof extended warranty or a spotless service history. If it's your only vehicle and your budget is tight, this is the single most seductive mistake on the entire list. You're not buying transportation, you're buying a hobby that occasionally strands you. The crash in price is real, but the cost of ownership never crashed at all. If this straight talk is saving you from a bad decision, do me a favor and hit subscribe. I've got more videos breaking down exactly which luxury cars are traps and which ones are genuine steals. Now let's get to the big three. Number 3, Porsche. Porsche Cayenne Turbo. The Cayenne Turbo is where the numbers get almost comical. This thing stickered north of $110,000 when it was new. A 2011 Turbo today has a fair value sitting around $14,000. A 2014 Turbo sits around $23,000. You are looking at a genuine twin-turbo, tire-shredding Porsche SUV for the price of a used Corolla. And unlike most of this list, it's a real Porsche to drive. It corners like something half its size. It's fast enough to embarrass sports cars. On the road, it delivers. But here's what the price tag is quietly telling you. Historically, the Cayenne has one of the worst reliability reputations in the entire luxury segment. RepairPal clocks an average annual repair cost of over $1,200, and that's the average across all trims. The Turbo, with more complexity, runs higher. The killers on the older Cayennes are specific and known. The coolant pipes on some V8 models were originally plastic, and they crack and dump coolant, which historically meant dropping the intake to fix. The air suspension, again, is expensive when it sags. The plastic coolant transfer components in the Turbo's cooling system in general are the Achilles heel. And this is a Porsche, so every part has a Porsche part number and a Porsche price. Here's my honest take. The Cayenne is the most fun to drive vehicle on this list by a mile. And if you find a well-documented one where a previous owner already spent the money updating the coolant pipes to the metal replacements and refreshing the cooling system, it can be a spectacular buy. If you find a cheap one with no records and a runs great description, you found a grenade with the pin already pulled. The difference between those two cars is about $8,000 in your bank account. Choose wisely. Number 2, Range Rover Sport. This is the poster child. If you look up depreciation in the dictionary, there should just be a photo of a Range Rover with its hazards on. A Range Rover Sport in supercharged or autobiography trim stickered around $90,000 and up, and the collapse is staggering. I see Cars data on the full-size Range Rover shows an average loss of nearly $70,000, around 62% of the purchase price, in just a few years. The Sport isn't far behind. You can find clean ones now hovering right around the $25,000 to $30,000 mark. But here's the number that should stop you cold. According to that same data, the Range Rover has roughly a 1.7% chance of ever reaching 200,000 miles. Let that sink in. 98 out of 100 of these will die before they hit the mileage a Toyota considers barely broken in. That's not a resale problem. That's a survival problem. I've watched more Range Rovers get towed into shops than driven in. The air suspension fails. The electronics have a personality disorder. One day the tailgate won't open, the next the infotainment reboots itself on the highway. The supercharged engines have their own appetite for expensive repairs, and every single fix comes with a Land Rover parts markup and a labor rate that assumes you can afford a Range Rover, which, if you paid 25 grand for a used one, you almost certainly cannot. Here's the cruel psychology of this SUV. It is the most tempting one on this list, because for $25,000, you look like you have a $100,000 life. And for about 6 months you do. Then the maintenance bills arrive, and they don't stop. If you buy one, buy it with a pristine, dealer-stamped service history, budget a bare minimum of $5,000 a year for the unexpected, and understand you're renting the badge, not owning the car. The market already told you the truth. The price is the warning label. Number 1, BMW X5M. And here's the one nobody sees coming. Back when it was new, the X5M stickered right around $90,000. It was BMW's fire-breathing statement, a full-size family SUV with a 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8, making 555 horsepower and around 500 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive, and the ability to humiliate actual sports cars while carrying 5 people and their luggage. 90 grand of German super SUV. Today, 14,000. That's Prius money for a 555 horsepower V8 monster. I said it at the top, this is the most expensive bargain on this list, and this is why. On paper, it's the deal of the century. A former $90,000 rocket for the price of a beige commuter car. Now let me tell you what $14,000 actually buys you. It buys you the entry fee to owning an X5M. The twin-turbo V8 in these, the S63, is a magnificent, complicated engine that runs hot and hard. Timing chain guides on early versions were a known weak point. And if that chain lets go, you don't get a repair bill, you get a replacement engine conversation, think 5 figures. The turbos live in the valley of the engine where heat goes to die. The coolant system, the injectors, the high-pressure fuel components, every one of them is a 4-figure job when it fails. And BMW M parts are priced like BMW knows exactly what they're worth. I had a young guy come in glowing. He'd bought an X5M for $13,000 and couldn't believe his luck. I told him straight, you didn't buy a cheap SUV. You bought an expensive SUV that happens to have a cheap purchase price. Those are completely different animals. 6 months later, he was into it for another $9,000 in repairs, and that was before the transmission started acting up. So here's my honest verdict, and it's the whole point of this video. These 7 SUVs all crashed under $30,000, but the price crash and the cost crash are 2 entirely different things. The X5M is the perfect example. The number on the windshield collapsed, but the number it cost to keep alive never moved an inch. That's the trap the badge is hiding. If you genuinely want one, here's the only way to do it safely. Find one, any of these, with a thick folder of service records, a pre-purchase inspection from a specialist who knows the model cold, and enough cash in reserve that a 5-figure repair wouldn't end your world. Buy the maintenance history, not the car. If a listing is cheap and the records are thin, that low price isn't luck. It's the previous owner running for the exit and handing you the bill. So there it is, 7 former 6-figure luxury SUVs that crashed under $30,000. The Escalade that's actually a decent buy. The German trio, Q7 GLS, and Cayenne, that'll charm you and then bleed you. The Levante and Range Rover that sell you a lifestyle and mail you the invoice. And the X5M, $90,000 of fury for 14 with a catch nobody warns you about until it's too late. Cheap to buy is not the same as cheap to own. Now you know the difference. If this saved you from a very expensive mistake, hit that like button and subscribe. I've got a video coming on the used luxury SUVs that are actually worth every penny, the ones that depreciated hard but won't destroy you. It's the other half of this story, and you're going to want it before you sign anything. Drive smart, do your homework, and never let a badge do your thinking for you. I'll see you in the next one.